Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for this next hour as we discuss a major event headed to cities across the U.S. very soon. Of course, it is the FIFA World Cup, the largest sporting event on the planet, reaching more than 5 billion people worldwide and drawing more than 1 billion viewers for the final alone. And this year, the World Cup comes to North America in a way it never has before, hosted across 3 countries. That's Mexico, Canada, right here in the United States, and expanded to a record 48 teams and 104 matches. A lot of information on FIFA. The U.S. is at the center of it all, hosting the majority of games, including every match from the quarterfinals onward, and welcoming the world into 11 American host cities. We are fortunate to have 3 of those host cities represented on the call here today: Dallas, Atlanta, and New York. You will meet the panelists in just a second. The 2026 World Cup is projected to generate $17 billion in economic output across North America. Today's conversation is about what that all means for cities, for brands, for your business, for communities. And quick note, there is a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. You'll see it there. So if you do have a question, feel free to drop it at the bottom of your screen, and we will get to it in the last 15 minutes of this panel. First, I'd like to introduce you to our panelists. We have up first, Kurt Holt with the Coca-Cola Company. You can wave, Kurt, so everyone can see you. He serves as the FIFA World Cup 2026 customer and commercial lead. Coca-Cola is one of Jackson Spalding's long-term partners, and Kurt drives commercial growth through strategic partnerships, customer-centric marketing, and operational leadership. His work connects brands, customers, and fans to accelerate growth at scale. Next up, we have Monica Paul, who is the executive director of the Dallas Sports Commission, who's also a longtime friend of Jackson Spalding. We've been so fortunate to partner with her in the past. Monica drives destination impact through strategic sports bidding, event leadership, and community partnerships. Her work positions Dallas as a premier host for global sporting events, advancing economic growth, civic pride, and long-term legacy through sport. And then finally, we have Ted Metzger, who's up in New York City. He is the head of Jackson Spalding's media relations practice. A former CNN producer, Ted drives clarity and credibility through strategic media counsel and newsroom-tested insight. His work helps organizations navigate complex moments, shape narratives, and build trust through smart media engagement and executive coaching. And these are our panelists, but we know we have amazing leaders on the call, so thank you so much to everybody who has joined this panel or who joined this call today. We have Dan Corso, who is the president of the Atlanta Sports Council. We want to say thank you to Dan for joining, a friend of our founder, Glenn Jackson, and a friend to the agency. So many impressive brands and leaders on this call. So welcome. So shall we get started? All right. Our first question is for Monica. I want to start with you, Monica, because Dallas is not only a host city, it's also holding a tournament high 9 matches in Dallas Stadium, including a semifinal, and is the official international broadcast media hub for the 48-team tournament. So Monica, why is this such a great opportunity for companies of all sizes, not just in Dallas, but just across the country?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first off, I think, anytime you can associate with the largest sporting event in the world, that's a good thing. Or I would think that's a good thing for the brands. Just here in Dallas, from an economic impact standpoint, opportunity for those companies and brands to be involved. We're anticipating generating $1.5 to $2.1 billion just for the North Texas region alone. So there's opportunity to have your brand out there, to get your name out there, to have hospitality options for clients that you may be able to entertain. For us, from a Dallas standpoint, we're also utilizing this to maybe entertain companies' headquarters to move to Dallas in the North Texas region. I think it's also opportunity for brands to engage their employees and create the energy. I think the World Cup energy can consume some of the employees and some of those stakeholders. And in addition, World Cup is not only for large companies and large brands, but providing opportunities for some of the smaller local suppliers to be engaged. We've created a North Texas Business Connect program. So all of the companies, FIFA, their vendors, their agencies coming in doing work here, we're hoping to then pass that on and keep some of that work here local that can continue to drive the economy here.
I love that you said that, Monica. It's not just large brands that are getting involved. Brands of all sizes can really seize the moment here. Kurt, I'm going to go to you next. The Coca-Cola Company, of course, is a major sponsor, and you are a major brand with a front row seat to everything that is happening. You've been talking World Cup likely longer than all of us, and our audience is keenly interested in your brand approach to such an event. So can you give us a sense of what's coming and what you see as the opportunity, not only for fans, but for brands and businesses alike?
Absolutely. So you kind of dimensionalized how big it was going to be, right? The 104 matches, the size of those matches and the impact they have at a local level, everyone's going to feel it. If you've been to
Oh, I think we may have lost Kurt's audio. I think we may have lost Kurt there. So we will get him up. Oh, can you hear us, Kurt?
I can. Of course,
Okay,
there's
go
tech
ahead.
issues with me. Yes.
That's
can you
okay.
Hear me, Ashley?
Yes,
All
we're
right.
speaking about the 104 matches.
Yeah, they're going to be big, right? So if you've been to an NFL championship game or a Final Four or a Beyonce or Taylor Swift concert, you know what it's like when that comes to your city, right? It just brings the fans. But what I want to step back and say is you're right. We have been looking at this longer. And before we even get to the tournament, the first thing that we wanted to do was understand what is yes, we have fans coming, but are there fans already here? And what our research showed us is actually we have a large proponent of fans right here in the U.S. who have been waiting for this since 1994 when the last World Cup was here. We have over 90 million what we consider hardcore fans in the U.S. and another 60 million that are passive fans, right? And so when you add those together, it gave us confidence that we could actually come into the U.S. and do the full fan journey. So you may not be aware that it's not just about the tournament. For decades that this World Cup has been going on, there is a moment where it unofficially starts, and that's the final draw that just happened this past December. And there's rituals and milestones that happen leading all the way up to the tournament. And so what we got excited about early on at Coca-Cola was understanding that we have a large fan base captured right here in the U.S. that we could bring the full journey to life for them. So you saw that with Final Draw, not only Coke, but all the sponsors getting excited about that, really leaning into it. We're in a period now that we call the ticketing window, right? It's ticketing and travel. So I'm sure you've seen the news about the high demand, the lotteries. Tickets are a hot commodity. So we, along with other brands, we're running a promotion in market right now where if you scan your package, Coke Zeros, Coke, Diet Coke, or Dasani, you can get tickets and great prizes. Other brands are going to do the same. March, we have the honor of being the official sponsor of the World Cup Trophy Tour. That is a sacred tradition that people really travel to see. So we're going to land here in the U.S. March 24th with our first stop in L.A., and it's going to run for another 33 stops till June. So there are multiple points of opportunity for fans across the country to go and see the World Cup close up. Fun fact, no one can touch the World Cup except a previous winner or a head of state. So when I tell you grown men have cried when they see this trophy, it is the truth. They come into this, and this is the closest proximity they can get to that trophy, and it's amazing. And then moving forward for the fans still, there's another cultural tradition that we are very excited to partner with. It's called Panini. I won't get into it here, but if you're not familiar with Panini, it's not the sandwich, it's trading cards. So Panini unleashes all 48 nations will have a page of stickers, and families collect these together. It is a moment where you want your Panini album complete. So we're going to bring that to life in partnership with Panini with some packaging innovation. And then, of course, we move into the tournament. And that's when it's euphoria, right? The fans have gone along this journey since December, watched all their qualifiers, made their travels, got into the traditions they want to either continue with their family or start with new friends, and then the tournament's here. So the fans in the U.S. are going to get Fulbright of everything. As it relates to brands, the opportunity for brands really is just to understand that we do have these fans here. Let me tell you a little bit about the fan dynamics. They're younger. They skew Gen Z and millennial. Of the Gen Z and the millennials, those cohorts are actually more engaged in international tournaments and national teams. Now, individual players are important, but what that opens up is there's an ecosystem of different soccer elements that they'll get engaged with. And every brand, I think, would agree, we want to recruit in Gen Z and millennials. So using soccer and FIFA as a way to connect to this very important audience for the long-term health of your brand is common sense. It's a great thing to do. So for brands, really think about who you're talking to. But the other thing to remember is, while these younger generations are highly digital, and that's a very important entry point as you're thinking about your plans, FIFA is very traditional and cultural. There are moments that are very analog. It doesn't have to all be digital. So if you're a brand that needs to find the balance between, digital first or analog and immediate gratification, you're going to be able to find a space for you. And then for businesses, I'll leave it really quick as I'm going to focus on the host city markets first. I'll get to other businesses outside of those later. But focus on your fundamentals first. You're going to have so much uptick in traffic, your business needs, your services, who you cater to in your communities is going to grow exponentially. So you have time now to really plan for that, plan for spikes in your inventory, your triage plans for your staffing. All of those things can be really put into play so that you are prepared for what is coming. And then secondly, then you can amplify where your impact areas are. So own your fundamentals and then look at your bracket. Who's coming to your city? Which national teams are coming to your city? Go read up on those fans. Those fans, they're unique, they're different, but they are highly engaged and they actually crowdsource a lot of their own events. So if you can find a way in with some of the different nation fan groups, you may find a way to help be their host or support their memories, right? So it's not just about what's happening on the field, it's about all the excitement around it. So businesses, fans, and brands are all going to have benefits coming out of 26 World Cup.
Wow, you got me so excited, Kurt. A lot of helpful information that, just got us really excited. Were you going to say something, Ted?
I was just going to add quickly, I think one of the things that Kurt laid out that might go overlooked is just the idea of how long this window is, right? We've got the 5 months leading up to the World Cup, plus the couple weeks to the tournament. I've heard of brands preparing 6 or more campaigns throughout the season. I'm sure Coke is thinking about things like that, right? Because you have everything anticipating up to the tournament, through the tournament, and then the elimination rounds. So there's a lot of opportunities to get involved in different ways.
You're absolutely right, Ted. And that's kind of what I just sneakily walked through was our road to 26. So it started with the final draw in December. We have 2 national promos. We have the Trophy Tour and we have the Panini partnership innovation, along with a lot of localized things that our franchise bottlers are doing in conjunction with people like Monica in the host city level. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Don't feel like you've missed out, brands or businesses out there, if you haven't already got into it, because there's still time ahead. And that's what we want you to understand is anything that helps amplify soccer and the excitement around it is a benefit. And so get in there, be creative, and do what's right for your brand.
Thank you both. Really the hottest ticket in town. I know you talked about Beyonce and Taylor Swift earlier and that energy and excitement we saw with those tours. And this is even bigger, right? So fascinating. Thank you so much for the information, Kurt. Ted, you are a news hound. Kurt was just talking about Gen Z and millennials and how important they are to brands and businesses. And I know they're important to media as well. Can you give us a sense of the media landscape around FIFA World Cup and brand news in 2026 in general? What trends are you seeing that might help organizations think about how they show up in June and even before then?
Yeah, first of all, just like Kurt was saying that fans are excited, the media is excited, right? Because this is just such a huge event and there is outsized interest. Even the FIFA president was saying 500 million ticket requests leading from the US. So the media knows what size audience there is. And for example, I have a good friend who works for The Athletic. They started their live blog this week for an event that's 5 months away. So that live blog is going to be going 5 months plus because of World Cup. And they're actually covering everything. They're not just covering what's going on the pitch. They're also going to cover that fan experience and what it means for cities. And I think that's what's critical for brands right now, that idea of connections and what it means for cities. I think you can do those one-off events and those are great, but there are long-term investments that you can make in those places, which are happening where Monica is in Dallas, where y'all are in Atlanta, here in New York. that idea of there are some long-term investments that brands are making off of the points that Monica and Kurt were making just in Atlanta the other day. The Bank of America CEO was like, I want to support small businesses in those communities. And I think those are the types of opportunities that are there in the short term and then the long term as well. And that's what media are going to cover, that impact for cities.
Thank you so much, Ted. And this next question is for both Kurt and Monica. When you think about the World Cup coming to North America, what is the biggest misconception brands have about this moment? And what should they be doing differently right now, if anything?
You want me to go first, Monica? Or you?
Go for it, Kurt.
All right. Well, I'm going to kind of continue what I was saying. Focus on the fans that we know we have captured, and the host city is very important. But what I don't want people to believe is if you're not in direct proximity of a host city or you don't feel that you have a strong fan base, that doesn't mean that it's not going to come. So FIFA World Cup 26 is not just about fans and host cities. What we have found is, in our experience having done World Cup partnerships with FIFA over the last 4 decades, every time soccer and this tournament hits a host country, you see a 2 times uptick in soccer interest. So what is going to happen if you kind of think back to 2024, the Olympics in Paris? It's kind of coming in, the first Olympics after COVID. How many of you got invested in that? At work, your friends, your circles, there was all kinds of commentary. That is what's going to happen this summer. It's going to be right here in the US, in our backyards. People are going to get engaged just through curiosity or just through social pressure, right? Because it's something exciting going on. Plus, there's going to be so much commentary about it, both the players on the field, but even the things that are happening off. Because reminder, these players are going to be in our country at training camps, going to different cities out. There's going to be a pop culture element to this. And I think it's important to call that out. It's definitely sports, it's definitely athletics, but it's going to bleed outside of that. And that's when you're going to start having people get interested, even if it's just event oriented. The interest for soccer and FIFA World Cup is going to increase in that time period. So I bring that back to say it's not just about the hardcore fans you can identify now. Be thinking about the fans that are going to come along the journey in the summer. And those fans are important because those are the ones that are most likely to say, you know what, this is looking like something fun. I'm going to create a social gathering. I'm going to have a party at my house. I'm going to invite friends out to go do X, Y, Z, or we're going to get in the car. We're going to drive to the closest city, right? That's what you need to be thinking about, is how do you capture and think about the people that are going to be coming into the ecosystem right around that tournament time. And so that is what's a misconception about it's only for fans. There are going to be new fans. And then for brands, I kind of come back to your opportunity there. It's, again, not just the host cities. As I was mentioning, we have Chicago, Denver, St. Louis, Phoenix. We have high indexing soccer cities. They're going to be really invested in this. They are going to create little pop-up events. You're going to see more and more coming into other cities through partnerships with MLS teams or just general organizations wanting to put something together to really celebrate and bring people together in a unified way around this amazing tournament. So don't just get myopically focused on the host city and don't just think about the hardcore fan. From a brand standpoint, be honest with yourself. Does your brand associate with soccer in a natural way? If it does, lean in, have fun. But if it doesn't, don't force it. But you can still maximize the opportunity coming because you can lean into, again, the strength and power of your brand. What is the occasion or need or service it's fulfilling? There are going to be an increase of people traveling. We're going to have domestic and international tourism moving around. People, it's the summer. They're going to be a little bit looser on their wallets, although value is still very important for everyone. So FIFA World Cup with its free events and things like that are very important for families and groups. So that's the misconception that it's only for this certain area and it's not going to impact me in my region of the country. That's not true. This is of all 50 states. Yep.
Certainly impact beyond the stadium. Monica, did you want to add on to that?
No, actually, from a host city perspective, I think when anytime you host a major event, usually the stadium is the shining star. That's the venue that everybody is talking about. But this World Cup really extends throughout the city, throughout the region. Yes, the 9 matches that we'll be hosting will be out at Dallas Stadium. However, we'll have a 34-day fan festival where, anticipating anywhere between 40,000 to 100,000 plus, depending on the other matches. That location tends to become the heartbeat of the World Cup, with every match being shown there. So think large watch party, heavy commercial partner, and host city supporter activations there, concerts, playgrounds, food and soul. So really an opportunity for the host cities to create that energy. In addition to that, we mentioned the International Broadcast Center, but I think other ways that our brands or host city supporters that are coming on to join us have really engaged in the legacy components. We know that through this 39 straight days that all the matches are taking place, the tourism, the influx of visitors, but we're trying to look at this World Cup from what happens after the World Cup is over. We want to ensure that there's a positive legacy here. So that means investing in our communities in underserved areas that maybe don't have soccer pitches. Kids don't have a safe place to go outdoors to play. So how can we put a dent in maybe in some of those areas and provide those opportunities or provide equipment? Then we also have sustainability and human rights initiatives that we want to be longstanding, legacy partners with. So sustainability efforts and partnering with Coca-Cola already, and being able to integrate that into some of our World Cup planning, our fan festival planning. So that's where we're engaging with brands a little bit. And then also, I think, there's going to be a fan festival, but there's going to be public viewing and watch parties and other fan zones that are set up throughout the region. So that's also another avenue for our host city supporters and ability for us to partner and to being able to expand that. So we're a very large region, kind of 133 different cities here within the North Texas region. So how do we engage and bring a little addition to World Cup to those cities that may not have a competition venue in them?
I love what you said, Monica.
Ashley, to the points that Monica and Kurt were making, the excitement here is not only around the matches, which are happening in northern New Jersey, a few miles, but Rockefeller Center is going to be one of the main fan fest sites. And everyone is excited to be, there's media coverage already about what is that fan fest site going to look like, how many people are going to go to it. So those fan fest sites are going to be a big, important launch point for brands and connection point for brands.
And we know you will be at that one, Ted.
Yeah. And the fan
Kurt,
fest,
were you going to add on?
I'll just build on real quick about the importance of the Fan Fest. They are the primary entry point for most people's experience here. As we said, not everybody's going to get to make it to the match, but I'm telling you, watching the 2 or 3 matches in a day in a Fan Fest, it's unrivaled. It's amazing, and you're doing it with fans and meeting new people, and all the sponsors and brands are there giving out stuff. It's a great day. It's a great day.
Yeah. And I'm sure it's a lot of the energy that makes it exciting and exhilarating.
Very palpable, yes.
Yeah, being with others. Monica, I want to continue with you. We have brands on the call that are not official sponsors and whose fans really have nothing to do with soccer or football. They've asked if sponsorship opportunities are still available and thoughts on smart, credible ways to participate in the World Cup conversation. What would you say to them?
Oh, yes, definitely. Sponsorships are available. We call them host city supporters. Each of the host cities can have 10 host city supporters. Obviously, no conflict with those that are commercial partners with FIFA. But thank you to Coca-Cola Southwest Beverages and Choctaw Casinos and Resorts. They have come on as our first 2 that we have announced. We'll be rolling out some other ones, but there's a lot of elements and assets that we incorporate into our host city supporter packages. And each city is a little bit differently and structured a little differently, but ours really focuses on obviously the hospitality elements that go with that. So tickets that everybody wants to know about, sweet hospitality around the matches. So some are utilizing it for staff and some of their employees. Some are utilizing it for clients that they're wanting to continue doing business with or do business with in the future. Fan festival. All of our host city supporters at this point will be engaged at a fan festival element. There's a host city campus area. So very much like we were talking earlier on the Fan Festival. This is the high energy place. This is the potential to engage. Not every person that is coming here to the host city is going to be able to get a ticket. So this is a great activation space, especially with the added entertainment that'll be coming in. We've got some naming rights for some of the concerts that we'll be doing. Then we have the legacy components of sustainability, human rights, but then we've also built in kind of road to the World Cup. And this kicked off in 2025, so it's continuing. These are the ancillary events that build up, whether that be a gala, a 5K, a food festival, celebrating all the countries that are coming here, or at least that we know of right now, that'll be playing in our group stage matches. So really trying to build that experience and not just be about one event, but let's lengthen the time period for that host city supporter activation.
Yeah, a theme here is it's really not too late to get involved. Speaking of engagement, from a broader communications or marketing point of view, what possibilities or pain points do you see that brands should consider taking advantage of or preparing for now? And Ted, I'll start with you, and Kurt, if you wanted to weigh in on this one as well.
I think for brands, they should think about it both proactively and reactively. As Kurt and Monica were saying, so many new fans are going to be coming to these cities, and it's an opportunity for you as a brand to get in front of those fans. And there are sophisticated ways to do that. For example, you could geo-target them with digital ads as one example, as a way that you could get in front of them on their phones, push them to your store or your brand or your college, whatever you are, and get those new, break down those demographics so that you're really targeting the people who need to see that ad when they're in your city. So I think those are things that you could do. You could also think about it from an internal point of view. Are there ways that you can communicate with your employees, have some sort of activity or event at your business or at your headquarters? I think that's something you could consider as well. And you could have internal comms if you're in a host city, for example, where commutes might be an issue because of the crowds. Maybe you want to make sure that your employees are getting in safely or working from home for a few days. So those are all things that you can consider to really connect with your community. And I think if you're doing it, whether it's proactive or reactive, in that authentic way where you're meeting the moment and figuring out what your fans and what your community needs, I think that will resonate.
Great.
I'll just build. Yeah, can I build a little bit, Ashley? Is that cool?
Of course, absolutely.
Awesome. And I just because I'm passionate about it, and I want everybody out there to be thinking in this way. It's how we show up. So I'm going to talk specifically about businesses and brands again with that uptick. Don't underestimate the plannable chaos that you can control, right? Because we talked about the 104 matches. You know what days they're on. You're going to be able to start understanding travel patterns. So as Ted was kind of getting into, really put a lens on your operational side of stuff. Be ready for staffing. If you have equipment that's critical for your business, get it maintained before the tournament starts. You don't want anything breaking down during the tournament. From a restaurant standpoint, we're working through that with flushing our Coke lines, making sure our C-stores are getting all their food prep areas serviced and ready, and ice cream machines, all those things. Retailers, don't underestimate everyday items. People need toothbrush. You need to make sure your inventory levels are going to match the demand that's coming in for this influx of things coming on. And it may not be the sexiest items you're thinking about, it's the practical everyday. FIFA World Cup's going to be exciting. There's a lot of things going on, but daily life's going to continue just with more people around these areas. So plan for that accordingly so that you can show up and be the solution, whether you're the business or the brand, for that person when they need it. So I just like to remind people, you have a chance to look ahead and know what this could possibly do to your business in a positive way, but you need to plan for it accordingly so that you're not caught off guard and end up having to lose an opportunity because something broke, went down, or you didn't have a backup plan for traffic and staffing and things like that. Definitely not trying to scare people. It's just, it's pre-planning, right? It's pre-planning.
Yeah.
And I'll say one more thing, sorry, on the brand, because that's very tactical on the business side. From a brand perspective, just, heart to heart, the brand teams, look at your calendar. Summer's an important period for all of us. This is the time to start asking questions about optimizing your trade spend. Do you have the right couponing or value discounts in place where you need them, or do you want to be premium at that time? You need to ask those questions of yourself and your brands and your products and figure out how to maximize those 6 weeks to really impact your P&L levers the way you want to. So.
And Kurt, your answer is actually a great segue into my next question for Monica. How should brands be balancing this global excitement with very real problems, right? We know there are going to be more people in these cities. So there's going to be traffic, there's going to be crowding, global audiences, security. What would you tell our audience to how to manage that?
Yeah, so from a host city perspective, we've been working. Many don't believe that. I think this bid process started in 2017. So this process has been going on in terms of getting ready for this moment. You only host a World Cup every, let's say, roughly 30 or so years. So this is, for some, a once in a generation opportunity. And as a city, this is a very important part for our city and region to continue to elevate on a global stage, and for Dallas to be recognized as a true global city in many areas, whether it's business, sports, et cetera. So we've got 18 different working groups that are working across the lens, from safety to safety security to transportation to volunteers, workforce development, and airports. A lot of work going on there. Some have changed what their construction schedules have been to ensure that things are ready to go from a World Cup standpoint. So we've been engaging our host city supporters and various brands and community stakeholders throughout the process. They understand the importance of our city being ready. And since the draw that took place in December, we've really been engaging with the embassies, the ambassadors, getting to know or gathering the knowledge that we need to be able to be prepared for the cultural awareness of how Argentina fans may differ from those from Japan, and Netherlands versus those from Croatia. So we're creating and about to roll out here in February really a concierge and ambassador training program for the front lines. So the minute that people arrive at the airport, we'll have our airport staff, our hotel staff, our transit authorities, and all of those agencies, our volunteers. Yes, here's our Texas hospitality, but we want them to be aware, to be good stewards. They're the face. And in this, it is going to be some cultural awareness. How do you greet people from different countries? What are some the things that you absolutely do not do because it may be offensive, and people aren't aware of that. So I think brands can help to deliver that hospitality package for us as well.
And that rings true in media as well, Ted, if you want to speak to just how important it is to know your audience with such different fan bases coming in.
Yeah, and one brand to that point, Ashley, that I'm watching is Airbnb, because that is a brand where they are seeing, obviously, in some cities, and it's already being reported on, the relatively high prices that are being charged for some people for their Airbnb. They have people who rent out their houses have the option of renting it for whatever price they want, and Airbnb knows that and is already trying to get in front of that in some interesting ways. So they are making sure that they have more inventory in those cities. They're trying to tell people that they're doing that. They're having one-of-a-kind experiences that people can win in host cities. And importantly, for cities like Dallas, where Monica is, they're granting $5 million in investment to the host cities for long-term impacts, right? And so they want to make sure that they're giving back, that it doesn't seem like they're a brand that's just profiting off of the World Cup coming here. They're actually appreciative of those communities and the people in those communities who are renting out their houses, and want to make sure that there's a long-term benefit there that goes well beyond the few months of the World Cup. So that's one brand that I'm watching, because I think they're smartly trying to navigate what is a challenging situation for them in very specific ways. Obviously, we'll see how well that they do, but I think doing things like $5 million grants to the host cities right now, when they can add to that, is a very smart way to approach what could be some negative headlines for them in the future.
That's right. Let's talk more about media, Ted. We know the International Broadcast Media Hub is in Dallas. As a former journalist, we know, that media will be inundated with pitches and overwhelmed with covering the matches. So how can brands realistically break through?
Ashley, you know this as well as anybody. Local media will be swamped, right? Local newsrooms have been shrinking. Their resources will be tough during that time. And so I think one of the things to do is what Kurt and Monica have been talking about. Get in early, right? If you're going to do it, make sure you're doing it early. Or if you're making a long-term investment, which is, again, one thing we've talked about a lot on this during this event, is the idea of if you're investing beyond that, maybe there is something you can do after the World Cup when the media market isn't so crowded as it is now. So I think knowing that those couple weeks when the World Cup is on, it'll be 24/7 on the matches, probably not a ton of room for brands unless you're a really big sponsor. If you're that smaller brand, I think figuring out the window that works right for you and the audience that works right for you, make sure that timing is spot on, because I do think local media is going to be really busy during the weeks of the tournament.
Those inboxes will be slammed. Kurt, were you going to say something?
No, I'm just learning insights from Ted about the local media side. That makes sense. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. They will be swamped and resource constrained.
An exciting way.
Yeah.
All right, this question's for all three of you. 5 months from now, how will brands know they got it right? What does success look like? And anybody want to start? I guess I can start with you, Kurt. What do you think success would look like?
Yeah, well, and I love hearing Monica and Ted talk, because we've all said it inadvertently, and it's not like we sat in a room together and said, this is what I want to leave with, but the word legacy. We actually established 5 legacies ourselves with Coca-Cola, both as a global system, but as a specific host country, and they are our consumer first. Did we make a good experience or a memory? Yes, the product is there, but are we a part of a core memory that they're gonna have later on in life? Second is our customers. Did we bring value to our customers through our partnership with this asset? So for all of our customers across the U.S., in the host cities, outside the host cities, retailers, restaurants, are we bringing value to them through soccer and our partnership with FIFA World Cup that they can then give on to their shoppers or consumers? Next, it's execution. So did we complete our play? Because reminder, we are very much so a marketing company, but our franchise bottling system are operators with skill and class above all others, right? And they are the ones, if you really think about it, Monica knows this, if you thought about what it takes operationally to bring a World Cup to life, just in the stadiums and the Fan Fest, the amount of companies that have to get in there and get product and have things moved around, and you have to do it in a tight term frame. It is very operationally extensive, and my hat's off to anybody that's helping make sure fans don't even know any of that's going on. They just know they're showing up for a match, getting a drink, getting some food, and having a great time. It's the heroes behind the scenes across all the sponsors and with FIFA and the host cities that are making this happen. So execution. Did everybody get a chance to get a cold product in the hot sun when they need it? That's our executional metric. Next is people. Monica mentioned this, or Ted may have mentioned it, but we're using FIFA World Cup to build capabilities and engagement with our own system. So we're doing new things that we haven't tried before. We are making sure our teams are engaged on things, and we're using this as an engagement lever to, again, drive our system to evolve and grow with the times. And then last and not least is our community and our partnerships. So we just want to make sure that we are leaving behind a better footprint than we walked in. So we do that through partnerships with like Monica and team.
Love that.
That's what
Monica.
Success looks like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll add on to that. I very much agree with everything that Kurt has said. When we host these major events, we do it for various reasons, and I call them my big 3. Obviously, the economic impact that goes along with that, ensuring that the visitors, whether they're international or from other areas throughout the United States, they had a great experience, and that they walk out of here thinking that the Dallas area, North Texas area, had a fantastic time, and they want to come back to visit. That is what we would call a big win here. It's one of the reasons that we host or try to host major sporting events over and over. The second pillar is really ensuring that we're continuing to elevate our global presence from a media standpoint, a recognition standpoint, whether it's a top #1 sports business city in the United States, but we want to look at it from a international perspective now. And this World Cup is very important to us. And then the third pillar that we stand on is really legacy, and how through putting on this World Cup, it could be programs, it could be how we go about business, it could be things that have been added to our transportation system that is going to then live on after this World Cup. It is very much the mini pitches and the soccer activations and it expanding opportunity for young kids as well. But really, what plan did we put into place that we're going to carry on, and it's going to help us in everything that we do afterwards? And when we try to put these plans together, we're looking at it from a visitor standpoint, but also for our residents here locally. And how brands get involved in that is through the community activations that they do in partnering with host cities, host committees in various cities. They're very much part of our Dallas brand. If you're a host city, if you're a host city supporter, in this instance for World Cup, that means you're a key partner of ours. And it's also about, I think, win-win partnerships of how we continue to activate and work with these brands after the World Cup is over, because there are other opportunities that are coming down. I mean, all of us cities are in the midst of a FIFA Women's World Cup bid as well. So it's not a singular event focus, but it's a larger focus as well.
Yeah, that's certainly exciting. Ted, you want to bring us home?
Yeah, one of the topics that's happening now a lot in media is the idea of what's called the connection economy, the idea of media going from clicks and as many people, the biggest audience you can get, to that audience where you have that authentic connection and you're building that sense of community, because those are the people that are going to be coming back again and again. And I think that applies to brands as well. One that comes to mind that I'm watching is Purina, the pet company, that pet food company that actually is based in the Midwest and is one of the sponsors in the Kansas City market. And their whole goal, because they're a pet food company, is to make connections between pets and their owners watching soccer together. And they want to find ways at the Fan Fest and at the stadiums, when they support MLS, for example, of pets and dog owners to watch the games together. And I think that is a way where you form that genuine connection. If Purina executes on that plan, I think they can have that connection and that authenticity and something memorable for fans that came out to that Fan Fest in Kansas City and remember that Purina was one of the sponsors and created that connection for them. So I think that, to me, is what success is all about. And we're seeing that in media and the PR and brand space as well.
Yeah, creating that brand loyalty. Thank you so much. Now, many of you on the call sent us questions ahead of time, and we are thankful for that. We're going to get to them right now. Ted, this first question is actually for you. It's a great question. The media relations playbook for sports has fundamentally changed. Traditional journalists are now competing with creators who have larger audiences. How should clients navigate credentialing, access, and relationship building with non-traditional media? And Ted, I know you are often speaking with these influencers and creators who have these very large audiences.
Absolutely. First of all, I would say in general, I think brands should be very open to creators. You have to vet them fully. But I think having that conversation online is what's driving media attention on the back end. So rather than thinking we have to go straight in general, and especially for the World Cup as well, rather than thinking, hey, let's drive attention with a media outlet and then hope we get social conversation on the other side, think about it the other way around. Creating social conversation is what's going to get you media attention on the other side. So you should really be open to that. Now you have to make sure, like we were talking about in these other contexts, that you are finding those creators and those news influencers. And I would say those are two different things. The idea of people who cover the news on social media versus creators who are creating more personal content. But in those spaces, and you can do both, those are not exclusive. Think about both those different ones and really think about how you can exploit those and make sure that you're including them in your media mix, because I think they are extremely important.
Thank you. This next question is for you, Monica. Watch parties and fan fests came up. What are the requirements for non-commercial game viewing parties hosted for employees or clients with less than 500 people? Is a FIFA permit required?
Yes, very good question. One that we get on a pretty regular basis because there's a lot of excitement around the various communities, at least throughout our region, of how can we host our own public viewing party. So FIFA does have a public viewing website that kind of goes over all of the rules and parameters. If you are, first off, if you are a bar and restaurant and normally host or show sporting events on your screens and TVs, it is business as usual. You don't have to file for a license or a permit there. But if you are going to, if you're over, 1,000 people and going to have, it's going to be a ticketed event, or you want to have sponsors and you're putting your outdoors, then yes, you would have to go through the FIFA public viewing license, request that, and then there's a lot of different rules if you are charging versus if you're going to have sponsor activation there.
Gotcha. So there are some parameters. People can find those online. Thank you, Monica. This next question, Kurt, is for you. What lens rubric does Coca-Cola use up front to evaluate and deem it worth it to invest in sponsoring the World Cup? And how does Coca-Cola calculate its ROI in sponsoring the World Cup?
Okay, I'm going to answer what I want to on that one. Props for using the word rubric on the Q&A. We've been a partner since the 70s with FIFA World Cup, and we've grown with the tournament as it has grown as well. So our partnership has been renewed multiple times in our sponsorship with them. And it is important and valuable to us because it's the number one sport globally. And Coca-Cola is a global drink for all, right? So it's a natural partnership for us to be together. So in terms of what makes it worth it, it's worth it because there's an audience of more people invested in one moment of time against a sport that pulls people together, which is just like our products and our portfolio. So it's a natural fit for that. In terms of ROI, what I will share is we're not anticipating we get all our what we invest, and not just us. I'm going to bring it back to our franchise bottler systems. Everybody's investing in this because we believe in it and we know we're going to get value out of it. But transparently, we're not going to get all of our value back in 1 year. This is a long-term play, just like what Monica was saying, right? Like this is, yes, we want to maximize the traffic and the increase in transactions that'll come this summer, but creating those core memories, recruiting into our portfolio of beverages, being a part of a great experience that carries on past the World Cup, that's why we do this and why we invest. And that ROI is priceless when you think of it that way. So if I want people, and what I'll share in terms of brand to brands and company to company, you got to be willing to not get it all back this year. If you're gonna go real big or want to do that, you got to be willing to make sure your long-term ROI is also a part of your calculations.
I love that. There could be some short-term success, but
Exactly.
long-term ROI.
Yeah.
This next question, Monica. Next question, Monica, is for you. How could nonprofits get involved? Do you have any tips for them?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, this would go for sponsors or companies that maybe can't be a host city supporter level, but they want to be involved in some form or fashion. So we actually have a foundation that we have started, and this is our way for the lasting legacy. So we're looking for partners on the foundation side and companies that want to invest to help us meet our legacy components, whether it's planting of additional trees, the additional mini pitches. We're working with a apparel company to outfit some of the campers and Unity Cup participants that we're going to have later on in the year. We're also partnering with a separate foundation on some of the educational components because we know not all kids are soccer fans. They maybe don't even participate in soccer, but how can we utilize soccer to create educational platforms to enhance? It could be literacy. It could be we have a bilingual reading program and reading challenge that we put on as well. So trying to get creative in the opportunity that we have in front of us. So opportunities for those nonprofits as well as other brands would be able to engage through our foundation.
Okay, This question, the next one is for you, Ted. Someone said, I don't want to get too political, but given the influx of global fans and recent events in the U.S., are you concerned about increased immigration enforcement in host cities? Any intel or advice on that front?
I would say a few things about this. One is the situation is changing day by day. We are seeing, as we speak, negotiations going on between Senate leadership and the Trump administration on what is happening on ICE. So I think having a close eye and ear on the news is important. I would say if you're wondering about this for the World Cup, you should probably be concerned about it in the months leading up to the World Cup and after the World Cup. So this is something that you should be thinking about, from now till June and then after June. So making sure that you have a just current up-to-date conversation going on among your leadership. Bring in the comms leads, your legal representation, everyone that you think is important, and have that conversation ongoing, and have a pulse on how different brands are reacting now and have been reacting, so that you have a pulse on how the communities are. And I think one of the lessons that I've learned through this whole experience is have a keen ear to how your community is thinking and feeling. Just like we've been talking about on all the positive stories. It's having that authentic and community connection. And I think if you're not putting community first, if you're not putting your audiences first, that's where you usually get into trouble. So you want to make sure you have that top of mind, along with having the issues plan, along having the crisis plan, along having all of the comms plans in place in terms of just the idea of having those ongoing conversations. I would say that everything is moving so quickly. This isn't a moment where you can write something down, put it in a drawer, and then pull it out 6 months later. It's something that you have to be constantly thinking about, updating and communicating with your team about, so that you're handling it and ready for it day by day, not once 6 months from now.
Ted, I know certainly applies to media and messaging as well. You don't want to appear tone deaf with everything going on, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think, that idea of really meeting the moment where it is, and you're not going to be able to meet the moment where it is unless you're having those conversations, unless you're briefed in real time, unless you're constantly updating those statements. If you're not doing that, I think you're going to be have issues, because that's what the best brands do. They make sure that they have clear lines of communication. They know who is on point. They know how to get things out quickly and efficiently, and they're not leaving things to chance. And I think that quick reaction is what's most important. When we talk to most brands now, it's really about that idea of, can you react quickly, and can you react effectively, and do you want to react across channels? Right? It's not just in this fractured media landscape. You need to be able to react on social, to media relations, through the media in all these different ways. And so I think having those channels in mind makes a difference as well.
And we had another question that says, I'm interested in understanding how Coca-Cola thinks about evolving just an event into the event, a cultural moment people feel emotionally invested in, even if they're not attending. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the narrative and the power of storytelling to make that shift happen. So Kurt, would love for you to speak to, creating the event, and then Ted speaking to the storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah, what I'll start with humbly is saying, it's never about any one brand. This tournament is itself, right? So we never want to be the reason it is the event. We want to amplify the people's experiences around the event. So I know it sounds like an old advertising trope, but it's the reality in this situation. There's so many tactile times to touch fans and get them engaged at the fan fest, the matches, the public viewing, all the stuff that's going on in store, the restaurants, that being present and being there along their journey, and that narrative build that I talked about with it starting in December. And when you're there consistently, even if you come in later, for those on the call, you're going to show that you've been a part of it up until that time point. So making it the event, it's more about, how can I make sure the fans had a good time? The event is going to be the event. But what was special about 2026 versus 2022 in Qatar, 2018 in Russia, Brazil, right? That's what people remember. Hey, when it was in Brazil in 2014, I remember X, Y, Z. We want to be a part of the memory that they have from 2026. That's what makes it be that event for them, for that person.
The memories made, and Ted, the storytelling part of it.
Yeah, and I would just say, Ashley, this tournament is coming at such an interesting time, just in terms of what brands are looking for, right? We're in this analog monoculture. You know, one of the trends right now for the last few months has been going back to 2016, the nostalgia of 2016. And what's that about, right? The idea of, when social media was more positive, when it felt like everyone was more together. And what better than the FIFA World Cup as a way to do that, to bring that together? Media are looking for that. Brands are looking for that. It's something that people can share in person. Kurt, I know Coca-Cola is going to take advantage of everyone being in one place and around one event. So it's not just the way for brands to get all these eyeballs in one place. It's this shared sense of community that people are longing for, that they feel like they're missing in this current media moment. And that's why I think media is so excited about it. And that's why I think fans are so excited about it. And brands should be so excited about it, because everyone is longing for that. And there are so few opportunities for it. And a big tournament across 3 countries like this is one of the few ways that is actually going to happen.
That's right. I have participated in that 2016 trend. Hard to believe that's 10 years ago. All right, the final question of the day. One thing you'd like people to remember or take away from everything we discussed today?
Ted said it earlier in the conversation, or maybe you did, Ashley. This will be the first time for a couple generations out there that they've had something this big on American soil, right? I remember 96 Olympics and 2002 Salt Lake, but there hasn't been anything here since then. So that's naturally going to be a part of something special, big, and huge that no one is going to know is coming, and they're going to miss it when it's gone. So it kind of goes back to brands and business, even from a everyday person up and down the street. Start thinking about what is coming this summer and the moment it could help create for you, your family, your friends, and all of those things, because it is going to happen, and everybody has a chance to get excited about it and be a part of a unifying sport that has shown its ability to bring people together. I have witnessed fans from very different opposing nations congratulate each other, slap each other on the back, be comfortable with the camaraderie, right? That's the kind of magic and energy you were talking about, Ashley, that then I think can then translate into other things, right? So this really is, it sounds Pollyanna, but I think we can all look forward to a summer of really exciting times happening that's going to bring people together in a lot of different ways. And it's not a one size fits all. There is opportunity for all fans, brands, and businesses. This is a special moment we have, and we won't get it again unless we win the Women's World Cup bid or some other things like that, right? We got the 28 Olympics coming for sure, but this is going to remind people what it's like to be the focus on a global stage with such an exciting sport.
I would say figure out how to connect with your community. And your community could be your employees. Your community could be your customers. Your community could be your town or your city. Or it could be the country or the world, right? It could be a certain fan base. But figure out who your audience is for this event and focus on them. It doesn't need to be as big as Coca-Cola, although we welcome brands that are as big as Coca-Cola. But you can do it in a very authentic way, and it's going to resonate if it is in fact that authentic connection. And do it on a small level if you can, and just figure out that community that's really going to resonate with you.
Well, thank you both. And we are also so grateful to Monica for joining us. And thank you everybody on the call for spending this hour with us. If you have any follow-up questions, or you want help, preparing to build your brand or protect your brand, or just planning for any kind of FIFA World Cup activation or event, feel free to email us, business@jacksonspalding.com. Again, thank you so much. And we hope you have a wonderful evening.